My buddy Jake brought this guitar back from Nashville and it's presented me with a few problems. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So this is a Nacho caster. I don't know if you can tell from the intro, but it's a guitar that has really caught my eye, but also more importantly, I really like the way it plays. Of course, these are supposed to be, very accurate representations and recreations of a certain era of Fender history, basically, right? And the guitars that these are based on now fetch kind of bonkers money, given that there are so few of them. And given that the vintage guitar boom has very much happened, right? And maybe it's still continuing. This isn't the real thing per se, but I think it's a pretty close, like Jake's had people reaching out and saying like, what is that on the Instagram stuff. And not only that, but if you think about someone like Julian Lage, who obviously has had, real guitars from this era, this is now his gigging guitar, right? Which is pretty interesting to me. Other people that have played one, I think Tom Bukovac did have one, I think. And Jed now has one as well. They're interesting things. Wherever you fall on the side of like the relic debate, I think is up to you. You know that it's not an old guitar, but at the same time, it looks like it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a trick of the light. But what really jumps out to me about this guitar, I think, are the pickups. It's got a V-neck, as guitars of this sort of time did. Which is surprisingly comfortable. And if you've never, got on with a V, I think, it feels right, basically. Nacho is one of the authorities on this era of Teles, right? And I think that's kind of the interesting thing about it. Like, the guys working at the Fender factory, presumably in the early 50s, were not necessarily experts yet, right? This is kind of like their first solid body guitars that they'd made. But there's no reason, you'd imagine, that if someone was really dedicated to, you know, making great replicas of these, that they couldn't come up with something good. But more important than any of that is that I just want to plug it in and play it. And you were hearing, when I first did my first bits of playing on this guitar, I did have some comments, like people asking, like, what were you using for that? All I'm doing is just plugging this guitar straight into the audio interface, and there's like a compressor and a bit of plate reverb on it. Like, you're hearing basically what this guitar sounds like if you just plugged it in direct, which I think is a thing to try with some of your guitars. The logical part of my brain is saying, like, I've already got a good Tele, so this is my K Line Truxton. And of course it's nowhere near the level of attempted relic job. This has just basically been checked, and then I've dropped it a few times. This has his, I think, signature T's. And I think this is a pretty good Tele. Like, when I play it, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it, and this is kind of one of my main gigging guitars. If you can stick to a guitar for a while, then can you turn that guitar into something like this? I did hear Lyle from Psionic Audio say the other day that as guitars get older, they dry out more and then weigh less. I don't know if that is, he'd know more than me on this, but I'd not really ever heard someone say that before. So is that a thing about older guitars, that they dried out more and then weigh less? Is that a thing?